baton. What are we doing?
Challenge. Audrey, have you been taking a picture for evidence while we're in the
Mm-hmm.
So this is only the pocket, so go away while my kids settle down.
Okay.
Well, hi, how are you? Come and rest yourself.
You guys taking it easy?
Yeah.
You ready to go fishing, Marlon?
Sure. Are you ready?
Oh, I'll go if they'd let me. I have to work every
A
day.
whole bunch of boys going, that'd be just right
Where,
for you.
Yeah.
where are the ladies now playing racquetball?
Some are down there.
4 of them?
I'm not sure who all's down there for sure.
Here.
The great white-tailed whale.
Algene, where are you going?
What?
You got the 3 musketeers or only the 2?
Just 2. The other musketeer was down here with his life jacket on.
Was?
No, he is.
He is. You can be. What do you have to say for yourselves, boy?
Oh, boy.
Calling you boys, boy. Jay, boy? Who comes here?
Audrey, turn it off. Hi, Audrey. There's Audrey.
Hi, Odd!
Hi, Aud.
Hi, kids.
Say hi, Audrey. We're not
Odd.
Get that straight. There's some kids in here.
Come on, Odd! Give me a bit!
Swimming.
Yeah.
Here, let me see your thing.
Robin.
Just enjoying herself.
Hello, Diana.
This is heaven.
Stephanie. Hello, dear.
Some white people will, but they're on the top.
Say goodbye.
They're not the Osmonds. It's called the Osmond Suite, you nerd.
What are we doing, ladies?
Goodies here by Aunt Marilyn?
Yes, because Marilyn needs it the most. How's school over there? And they have this and they have that, and he says, you know, what is it?
Jump, Carl. Hey, do it. Hey, Mike,
Stand up in it.
Trent?
Went in there dry, came out there.
We're going to cut down for you. Maybe they hear some more. Michelle, you want in here? As the only woman on our panel, you are our first activist. Your nickname is Mickey Doulis.
Keith. What are you doing?
You're the candied camera person.
Yep, I am.
Right?
Gordon. Uncle Tom, what you doing?
Well, Brooks is ready.
What are you doing? Nothing.
Hello.
Show them those muscles. Show those muscles. Show your muscles.
Don't ever turn around, you might get a ball in the face. So shoot him in the back of the head.
Let's see what Darren did. I mean, what Garrett did.
Eileen? Huh? Good. Say hi, Ton. Say bye.
Right there, he follows down. Who is that?
Sally! Sally, I'm getting you to the back of you.
Audrey! There's Audrey! Wave at her.
Who's got ya? Who's got you, Garrett?
No, I've got a few times right now. What about Sally when she's there? Well, that's what I should do.
Timmy, will you go get that bucket down there and sit it up here with all the rest of the dessert?
Hello, Ken.
Time to wake up, Tom.
Kyle, did we get pushed in the pool?
Guys, get in the line and get your stuff here.
No?
Oh.
Did we have a little fight?
No.
Trent, Kevin,
Little no pool act.
as long as there's room to grab a plate, you better be in there.
Nathan? What are you doing? Sarah, where'd you get your shirt?
Camp.
Camp? Was it fun?
Yeah.
The nerds of the family, can you tell? Their names are Darren and Brian. And look, there's Ken again. Ken, spell your last name.
He doesn't know.
Carrie?
Are you not here on right? It's here backwards.
Douglas? See you, Broccoli. Andrea. Okay, I turned it off. Joanna.
Where's Trent? Hi Trent, how's it going? Food.
Hey, now, you know about that.
Hey Kathy, the food any good? Looks good.
Gee, Tom, I'm glad you saved some olives for me.
I'd like to have you two over here.
2 olives?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Whoa, Tom.
Now?
No, I'll come on sit by us any place.
Okay.
I don't like going to the movies.
Oh, come on, Tom. Man, what a bunch of snow. Look, Kyle's almost like a dog. With a frisbee.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting. The camera. I like it.
It's almost like a horror movie.
What's gonna jump out of the bushes?
I don't know. The sign says the beast. photo of Kyle Stanos. Don't you think this would be great to paint?
Come on, Curtis. Whoa. Oh no. Okay.
Honey, you ought to go sit down.
No, I'm helping my dad.
Are you? Okay, then you can stay up here.
Joe! Joe, come here.
You want to go sit down?
Garrett! Smile, Dad.
Doug's the beast.
The only fish around here hiding too.
Yeah. Just thinking about you gets me scared.
Yeah. Okay. Be careful there, Gary. Just one wrong.
That's for Georgie.
That's for Clyde.
Ready?
Hey, Emmett.
Coffee machine. Whoa! Don't you think that's a little bit? Hey, Carlos, come here.
You hear that buck snort?
Okay, I'll be the middle.
Need any help, Clay?
No, we're okay.
Dad, did you guys just get here?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're gonna dunk us, so why should we give any to you?
They got nuts in them.
You want to move down so you can hear?
Everybody move down. Whoa, Terry,
Ryan, you want to round?
Yeah. First, this is called the captive audience doctrine here. We all need to contribute. We're kind of estimating, but we think $10 per family for food. For what
Said that, Arsenio.
an event.
Would you like to go take part?
Watch that, Marlon.
You like a heckler or what?
We had an event in our family, in the snow part of the family. We had a pair of twins turn 40. And only about 3 months ago, the Olsons had the same thing happen in theirs. Only it wasn't twins, it was friends.
We did have twins. You have twins?
That equals twins.
So, we will,
Have them sing a song.
I think we ought to have them come down and we will sing happy birthday to them, although it's a little belated.
I'm good at that.
And we have, in our family, and Aunt Grace has already taken care of it in hers, but we'll let Brent sit down here anyway. In our family, we have a tradition. Mom puts together a book for those who turn 40. A little "This Is Your Life" presentation, and she will take care of that for Marilyn and Marlon. So if those three will come down, we're going to sing happy birthday to them, and then we'll let Mom take over her thing.
Are you gonna come
I want to sing it when you're turning there in next year.
Hey, and may I have one comment?
Oh, yeah?
Send postcards for my book because there's nothing else for it.
For those who are about to die.
She's the one with no pictures. She's the one what? Has no pictures in her family album.
Are you doing that?
Yeah, what's yours singing?
Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Marlon Manson. Happy birthday to you.
I want to know who's older.
She is.
Hey, you've heard the joke about twins that turned 40, haven't you?
No.
He said, if I can remember it, he
Now
said,
don't move the punchline, though, will you?
I know I will. I know. It's still a racetrack. That when they were young, she was always older. When they turned 10, she was 13. Until they started getting to 20. And
Easy now.
Then he knew because she was only 18 and he was 20.
Now you could tell that in church.
You get almost as good a laugh.
Harry girl.
He speaks with the high counselor.
I'll tell you, when we turned into it really didn't bother me until the end of the day after he called it out 4 times, and I was real annoyed. He was a lot more annoyed.
Okay.
Well, 2 reasons I make these scrapbooks. One is there comes a time when I need to get rid of the stuff. And it needs to go where it belongs. And the second reason is that there's some real reminiscing to do in some of these books. So tonight, for Marilyn, this is your life.
Nothing in here.
And for Marlon, this is your life. Is there anything in there?
Hey, this is neat.
Oh, Marlon's has even got a picture with Ann in her miniskirt.
Check it out.
You ever wear one of them?
That means they were married in the 60s.
Wyatt, you're going to break that, pal. If you're not careful.
Wyatt, get your foot off of it.
Hey, Wyatt. Wyatt.
Get your foot off of it.
Wyatt. Yeah. Wyatt. Wow, what a life.
Okay.
Talk about boredom.
Okay. Yes, it is. We have a family of busy bees.
Where?
So we're going to have a little contest. So, everybody match up with the person to your right or left, the person next to you. We need pairs all the way down. Turn and face the person to the side of you so we've got pairs all the way through. Okay? Right here, like this. You two like this, Wyatt. You and Mel. No, I'm not done.
Sally here.
Sally. You know Diana?
Okay, I'm done.
She'll tell you jokes.
Sorry. Are we doing it where
Tom?
it doesn't matter what border
You're the head beekeeper here. Come on.
Come on.
Come, Buzz. Come, go. Hey. No, they're doing all right. They're in twos. On your mark. Get set. Go.
You gotta look at each other, Gordon and Kat.
Yeah, you have to look at each other. You gotta look at each other. You have to look at each other.
Diana, you gotta look at each other.
Kathy's
Teresa!
Ooh. I think Wyatt's winning.
Over, Rover. Please.
Morning, did you laugh?
Yeah.
Whoops.
Wyatt, Wyatt, you got a butt. Wyatt, 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 you got a buzz like a bee.
Buzz like a bee.
Brian says that's not fair.
When I was going with Lynn, and before we went to meeting, Lynn said, "There's something I want to explain about my grandpa. Before your meeting, I want you to know you better try not to take him too serious because he's really not as bad as he sounds." And when I met him, I was delighted. He was a tease, but he was a neat man. You know, when you were forewarned, you were forearmed, and so you're ready for him. But that was the very first thing I remember was going down to 21st South, visiting at their house. We were down there for a missionary meeting. So, but he was all out tease, and he had anytime he had a chance to be one up on you, he was one up on you. And he was really proud of his kids and his grandkids. That really meant a lot to him. We were fortunate enough to live close enough that we had a chance to get a little better acquainted. And he had a chance to spend some time with Tanya. And she would remember that because she was just a baby at the time. We'd go down there to visit them for an evening, and he would make all kinds of fusses over it. And he was very proud. Proud of the time that he could spend with them. I didn't know a lot about him. He worked for the railroad, retired as a railroad worker, had spent his life living down on Hartwell Avenue, and raised his family and lived there in Hartwell. Lynn's going to tell a little bit about what he can remember of Grandpa, and then we'd like you to each just stand up and tell you that knew Grandpa something that you remember in particular that you'd like to share with us.
Well, I remember him, several things I remember about him. One was Grandpa Olson always took really good care of his things, and whatever he had, why, it was clean and neat. I first remember riding in his old Dodge car, and everything was just always shining in it and clean, and he was really proud of it, but he took really good care of it. I remember going fishing with him several times. One time we went fishing, he came out and we went fishing up above Paradise Reservoir, and coming out we got lost. We had some arguments about which way to go, and we differences of opinion. Anyway, the way we went wasn't. We got off in the wrong drainage, came out, eventually found where we were, but had a long walk. But he did like to fish. I remember hunting pheasants with him several times. I remember sleeping in the basement of the house there on Hartwell Avenue and listening to the old, was it an oil furnace? Was it gas? But it was kind of had its own sound and things, and sleep down there in the basement. But after we got married, why, they used to come up and visit us occasionally in Bountiful, and we'd go down to Salt Lake and stop by their place. It was always fun to go and just to visit. He was, like Janet said, he was proud of his family, and he always had pictures displayed there. I remember right by the door somewhere there were pictures of most of his, I think all of his grandkids. real, you know, he was a special person. He had his own unique personality, and he would be the first to tell you that he had his faults, but he had really lots of good qualities too. And it was really fun to be around.
Roger, why don't we start with you, and if you would like to just go around, all those that can remember something about Grandpa.
One of these missionary reunions. I brought Marilyn down and dropped her off and went to the reunion. I didn't want to be affiliated too much right then.
He was a rough one.
He stood in our wedding line when we were married. He was at the end with his own cake down there. I think it was an anniversary or something. He was right down there at the end. What other?
Did you guys have big flowers? Was it yours or Annette's?
That was Annette.
Then we saw him up in Logan Canyon. We went up Logan Canyon. He had his trailer up there fishing. And his brother was up there, I believe. We went up and visited him up there one time. That seemed to be one of the things he liked to do was fish.
When you'd go visit, he and Mick and the girls, what were the sisters' names?
Karma and Lois.
Oh, I mean, it was a hoot when you got them all together. They were the craziest bunch when they all got together.
I got to go to Salt Lake and spend a lot of time. Either I cried louder when Aunt Grace left, Grandma, or I'm really not sure why I got to go so much. But I got to go a lot. Huh?
Why, Kathy? Tell her, brother, why you used to send her out. Let her know now how you
Get her out of the house.
There's no question why you went, Marilyn. I didn't know you had to bring it up.
Well, you're 40 now. I hope you can take it.
But I can remember lots of times going to Grandpa's house. I told my kids about the times I've gone on the beat runs with him. So we'd go to Salt Lake and catch the train and do the beat runs up into Pocatello. When we talked about the basement, sleeping down in the big bed in the basement. I got to sleep in that bed sometimes, and that seemed like an honored place to get to sleep. It was always fun to have him come out, the memories of him coming, and Mother would have a list of things that he could fix for us, hand handles and curtain rods and towel racks, and you know, and he seemed to just enjoy to have this little list of things he could put around the house and get done. Gosh, Audrey, that off.
She never could get her husband to do all those honeydews. He was sitting around.
I remember telling Roger a lot like Ben told Janet, because Roger was so quiet and shy back then that, you know, what Grandpa said wasn't really what he really meant. It was kind of a big bark. Some of my kids would run and hide if Grandpa barked at them, because he really barked. But it was all in love, fun. You're on, Keith.
I think Grandpa helped me get my Cub Scout badge in whatever home repairs or something. On several occasions when he'd come out and Mom would have the list of curtain rods and stuff, why he'd, rather than just fix it and be done, why Grandpa would sit me down and show me how to do it. And he'd say, now you don't have to have me come out and do this. And so he'd show me how to do a curtain rod, and then he'd take me out and help me fix my bike, and he just really was such a handyman, and I learned a lot of little fix-up things, really from spending time with Grandpa. It was fun.
Sally said you learned it, but you
I used to be,
Can't forget.
I don't know whether others did, but Grandpa was fairly well known at the Frontier Grill. I think it was because he liked to have a morning cup, and so he'd take me with him, and we'd go up and he'd buy me a hot chocolate, and he'd visit with the folks at the grill. And I remember one particular morning on the way, we were just right about where the stoplight is by First Security Bank there in Roosevelt, and all of a sudden he let out a war whoop. And he started yelping and swinging, and he had always leather driving gloves, if you remember. And he pulls off one of these leather driving gloves, and he starts swinging that thing from one side of that car to the other, and I realized there was a bee that had just stung him. And I don't know who was in control of the car, but I'll tell you, he was after that beef. I was scared to death because I didn't know what was going on at first. But I also remember always in the glove box of his car, which did have the seat, the plastic still on the seats, Al James, there was always a little package of those little round pink lozenges that taste kind of like Pepto-Bismol does now. But they were a treat because they were from Grandpa, and he used to have those, either the pink ones or the white ones. And as I recall, he always had plenty of blackjack gum somewhere around, too. And I was going to bring a supply of blackjack gum for everybody, and it rounded up.
He delighted in doing that to the grandkids, the blackjack gum and the black holiday stickers.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, I think those are the things I remember most. One other quick story I have to tell is, when I was 14, I broke my leg, and this would have only been a year or two before Grandpa died, I guess. And I spent some time in here in Salt Lake, and then Mom and Mom and Ann's mom came and got me, brought me home, and then I had the doctor's appointment to come back. Somebody was coming this way, and they brought me back out, and I went. Grandpa took me to the doctor, and they gave me a walking cast, I guess, or something. But I didn't have a pair of pants that would work with them, and so he took me downstairs on his old sewing machine, and he very meticulously unstitched all the stitching in my cast, cleared my hip, unstitched it all, and did it just so for me, and then fixed it so the pants would fit over this cast, and then put me on the bus and sent me back to Roosevelt. That's probably one of the last times I guess I ever spent time with him. But
Aren't you going to tell the rest of that story?
Well, that's on his daughter. I got home and needed a pair of pants that I could wear around the house. So Mom found this pair of pants in the closet that we could cut off, and she cut them off and hemmed the leg real nice and everything, one short leg over this cast cleared my hip. She handed them to me, and I said, I'll go put them on. And I came up a little while later with them on backwards because she had cut off the wrong leg. Hello.
It's nice to have that wasn't always a
So she cut off the other leg, and I had a wonderful pair of shorts. Okay.
He was very intimidating, but he was always very kind. He's one of the few people who, within minutes, could make a person feel like he'd known them all his life. From the time I first met him, he always made me feel welcome and like I belonged, was a part of the family, even before it was official. That he was always, I remember the picture taking ceremony, and we just saw a picture, and Eileen asked if we were married, but he insisted. I don't know if he knew from the very beginning I'd always be part of his family, but he insisted I be in the picture. Good thing that Marlon asked me. Because I was there for posterity. It would have been embarrassing for another lady. But, and I remember just right after we were married, finished the breakfast, the dinner and that, went to change and pick up some things at his house, and he and Grandma Olson offered to go with us on our honeymoon, and Marlon and I thought it sounded great. We were going to go to Wendover.
So we invited him.
Yeah. We were ready to go. Then he decided that no, that maybe they better let us have some time.
You would have especially been probably welcome to some company.
I'd still love to have him go.
But he was a very kind and loving man, and I remember the feeling when Eileen was born that I wished so badly that he had been able to have been around to have known our grandchildren, or our children, because he was such a special person in my life, even though I only knew him a short time. And I remember Marlon saying, but he knows them, and he knows all about them, and he'll be as aware of what's going on in their lives as we are. And I hope someday to be with them again, because I love him.
I remember a time when Ann and I were out in Salt Lake, and I don't remember it was when we were going out to get married or when I was leaving to go to England, but we were at the Grandpa's the night before, and we were just going to walk around the block, and I guess I was leaving to go on a mission. It's just a mouse. But I was leaving to go to England on a mission, and of course, Mom, I was going to walk around the block with Ann, and Grandpa said, "Oh, that's all right, let him just walk around the block." But I think Mother darted between every house as we started going around the block to make sure we were going to make it around the block. And Grandpa said, "Ah, they're okay, just leave them alone, they'll be here in a few minutes." But I guess one of the reasons Ann and I probably went down to Arizona was because when we first started work for Millen, we looked forward to be able to go to Phoenix and maybe to Tucson and spend some time with Grandpa Olson. He always loved to take his travel trailer, and he had it always kept up real nice, and go down to Yuma or to Phoenix. And that was something that I always thought would be fun to go down and see him and to spend some weekends with him and do with him. I've always thought that's exactly what I'd like to do someday, is just what he did, to get a trailer and go and do like he enjoyed the last years of his life. And, he's always been a great idol of mine, no question. I'll look forward someday to seeing him too.
He loved me more. And I can prove it. I didn't have to eat any of those yucky purple, no, those juicy pink things, because he bought me red licorice shoestrings. And probably because I talked harder to get them, I don't know. Or I begged. That's true. I know that he also, even though I wasn't very old, I know that he had some kind of a special attachment to me because he was very concerned when I was born about the condition of my
There's the
mother.
mental retardation.
It seems to become apparent in the first and the last in most families.
Just slug him, Annette.
Like she's an education.
Our family 1 out of 2 ain't bad.
But anyway, I was very young when he passed away. I remember his funeral as one of the first times that our family, that I saw most of my brothers and sisters together in that kind of a setting. And we've been together a lot of times since, but I remember that as one of the times that one of the first times that we all made a real effort to be to something. I think that says a lot for him, that we all probably dropped whatever we were doing and went to be there, not just for ourselves, but also for him.
You don't remember him?
And you never met him.
I remember all of the things you talked about. He was a perfectionist. The yard always looked manicured. And anytime we went out, he went out to make sure we didn't pull any grass. I remember being in the hospital room just about before he died. I barely got out of this basic training. I was coming from Idaho to Salt Lake, down to Arizona. And I didn't make it to the funeral, but I visited the hospital.
We're both basic, weren't we?
Should have been. First time.
But anyway, I remember how he'd tease you till you cried, and then his heart just melted. And he just really felt bad and did you feel bad. I remember going hunting with him once, slamming the car door and catching his hand. And how bad I felt for that. And those of you who knew him knew he had a hand disease. His hands were different colors. He had a real pink on it, and he was dark complected, but with these real white on his hands. Yes, and he was always wringing his hands like this, because I'm sure they must have been.
Rick? Well, unlike some of you, I remember Grandpa too. I got a lot of memories of Grandpa. I did not enjoy going fishing with Grandpa.
no matter how you did it, you could not do it the right way. So I tried not to fish with Grandpa. But what I remember, a couple of the memories I remember, those remember my father. He was never home. And not because he didn't want to be, but that's just the way life was. And I remember that Grandpa, when we had Scout-O-Ramas or father and son activities, never said no if you needed him to go with you. He was always available. I remember many times going to Scout-O-Ramas and dragging Grandpa all over the fairgrounds. And he never complained. He never said he was tired. He just went until you were through, and then usually we'd go down. Sometimes we'd go to the old that ice cream place on Main Street with the stupid little girl up there. What was that? Oh, the old Highland ice cream place, remember? Meadow Gold? Maybe it's Meadow Gold. Anyhow, we used to go there and buy ice cream cones after an activity. And Grandpa'd always take just one at a time. I don't know if he didn't want to spring for more than one ice cream or if it's just, it was special to us. But I just remember he was always there when you needed him. He never really interfered in your life, but he was always willing to be a part of it if you just asked him to do it. And like most of you, I found him to be really hardcore, but a real marshmallow at the same time. And I learned most of my vocabulary from him. What can you say? Man had a way with words.
Grandpa was the kind of guy that took us all out on an individual basis. Very seldom do I ever remember going out with Grandpa with somebody else. Always alone. And I didn't have any problems with him fishing. Since that day I caught the first fish and he was still trying to rig up, and he kind of left me alone after that. It was the nicest fishing day I ever caught one. And I remember him taking us down to 7th East on about 17th South or something like that. There used to be these springs that come up. They had them cemented around, coming up through a pipe. And I remember him and Grandma Cassie, I remember her real well. And we used to fill up these jugs with artesian water. And if you ever wanted a drink at Grandpa's house, you never turned on the tap. You got a drink out of the artesian jug. You always, the same jug all the time. That was it. It was his drinking jug. And
is it water?
I got
water drinking jug.
Grandpa could drink anything he wanted to drink. I didn't know the difference. And one of the most memorable, funny experiences I remember with Grandpa is during the summers, or during the winters, he would slip down to Arizona, and occasionally he would slip a little further south down into Mexico. And then he'd come back, and I don't know if any of you ever remember these big red firecrackers that he always used to have in his glove box. But yeah, always. Well, he had this one out, and he was going to throw it out the car window. Well, he lights it in the car, and he goes to throw it out, and it didn't quite make it out the window, and it blew up in his fingers. Don't you remember that? He had the black marks all over his fingers, and I remember several people getting real excited about it, but it didn't hurt him or nothing. He just had the black marks. That's the funniest thing I remember about Grandpa, when that firecracker blew up in his fingers.
Jeannie?
I remember one time seeing him really humble and maybe embarrassed. He and Uncle Gus had been sent over to pick corn. And they came home, filled corn, and that wasn't the worst of it. They went ahead and husked all of it, brought it in ready to cook and everything, and had never figured out that it was filled corn.
And Uncle Gus was a great farmer.
Yeah, they were supposedly they knew. And that was one time when he was at a loss for words.
Go ahead and put it up.
But I remember a couple of other things out there. Kathy and I got to go a time or two. He quit taking us eventually because of her, but...
Yeah, I had to stay home from work.
Kathy would get homesick for her big white house, and he would get so upset. Oh, and he'd get so mad until she'd cry, and then he'd bring us home.
Nothing changed.
He couldn't stand that. But when we were there, one of the things I remember, we never slept downstairs. We always slept out on the back porch. And I could hear the trains, but the thing that I loved about his back porch was just dozens of wind chimes. And that was the neatest part. And then in the morning, you always smelled bacon. And that was the smell of bacon. We didn't get to go very often. I don't know why they'd never send me alone. I'd have loved it, but I always had to take her, and we always had to come home.
Thanks for telling my story.
Yeah.
Run.
Aren't you going to tell anything about it?
I might tell it all.
Do we want to get the rest of the kids and then go to gym class?
Yeah.
All right. Mom,
We'll go to the rest of the kids first.
we'll do the kids and then the... Okay. Annette?
Well, I have a lot of memories of Grandpa too. Lots. One of the things that stand out most in my mind, and it's been mentioned a little bit already, but is his perfection in all things. And I can remember when he'd get ready for his run on the railroad, or to go out to work, or whatever you want to call it. I can remember how proud I felt. It seemed like the brass buttons were so shiny, and his shoes were polished to perfection, and his hair, I don't think I ever remember a hair out of place. He was just the essence of tall, dark, and handsome to me. And then I remember, I have faint memories of when he broke his leg, and all the hours that he had to sit there while I groomed his hair. And I washed it, and combed it, and curled it, and started over washing it, and combing it. And he'd sit there for hours on end, day after day, being patient while I played with his hair. And I remember the ice cream cones. And I remember he used to flirt with the girls that made the ice cream cones. And I remember how I loved the city lights. We'd always go up by the Capitol, and we'd start down and visit State Street, and we'd come down. And the used car lots and everything were, I don't know, all the sparkly, bright city lights really were exciting to me.
That's why you moved to Ballard, wasn't it?
That's right.
I can see Roosevelt.
I can see him from a distance.
There's a couple of other things that really impressed me, and that was his sense of humor and how tender and long-suffering he was when Grandma was suffering. And
You're having to.
yeah, I remember all those things too, but I remember him at the very end. And how, I don't know how, he never ever seemed to get older to me. And then all of a sudden he was. And it was over so quickly. I hope I get to see him again too.
Kathy? Thanks a lot.
Well, as everyone knows, I never went anywhere. I never did anything. And Jeannie stole my story. I
I was. That was all I was going to tell. Mom's told it to me so many times, how could I forget it? I can remember the chimes too. That's why I have a couple of chimes right now out on the porch, and I really like chimes. I'm sure it's from Grandpa, but I love chimes. All the time, I say that.
He would have had to been a really good old boy. But he tells me that I'm sometimes old. You're just like Grandpa said. I'm a good old boy.
Aw, big offer, Tom.
I can remember one more on Kathleen. That was when Grandpa takes us for a ride somewhere in town. He delighted in saying to us when he'd see an old house, well, there's your house. Or, there's your mom. You know, some old people on, there's your mom, there's your mom. You know, he'd get so excited, she'd just fall apart and fall. And our rides would be cut short.
They can make all.
But it is.
Well, Marlon and Tom are a lot like Grandpa. Everybody is scared to death of them, and yet they're
Marshmallows.
Round part.
What kids we got left?
I fell asleep on the floor in my mom's house, sucking my thumb, and he pulled my thumb out of my mouth and stuck his thumb in his place. I got his thumb for about 10 minutes.
He came out with tears. Just a laugh.
How was it?
I couldn't tell you. I could sleep.
I've had lots of experiences with Camp Olson. He used to come out quite often and with Jack and go pheasant hunting. We did quite a bit of that. I took he and Uncle Chuck on the mountain one time fishing. We went clear into Atwood, and that's a long ways for people who haven't ridden, even a long ways if you rode some. I remember when we got up there, before we got to Atwood in the meadow there, Chuck's horse lay down with him. He was so tired, he'd been all over his back, over one side and the other. He just about killed the poor thing. It laid down right in the meadow, and we had trouble getting it up. And when we got finally where we were going and unsaddled, it didn't move for a whole day. It stood there for 24 hours and didn't even take a step. It was so tired. They were good fishermen. I remember going fishing up Uinta Canyon with Grandpa Olson one time, and we weren't catching anything very much. All of a sudden, I was a little ways away from him. All of a sudden, he started catching it. And I came over there where he was, and he said, "Hey, take those rocks up." He said, "They're taking rock rollers." They were just hatching out. They were kind of larvae that time, and I started digging around, and I found some. As quick as I get one on a hook and throw it in there, I'd get a fish every time. But he knew enough about it to keep experimenting, fooling around until he finally found what worked. I remember this car. He really babied that automobile. He was going to bring, I had the horses and all the gear in my truck. We were going up Uinta Canyon, U-Bar Ranch, and then going up from there. And he was going to bring his car and all the bedding and stuff in it. But before, the roads are like they are now, and that used to be a pretty rough stretch of road from Neola to where you turn off to go over to White Rock. It was about as bad as red, nothing but boulders. I got ahead of him, and I said, "I'll wait for you up there, and we'll kind of catch up." And I got up there where I was gonna wait, and I stopped, waited, looked down the road, and I couldn't see a sign of anybody. That's only 4 or 5 miles or something like that, and I must have waited 45 minutes. And finally he'd come, he was just bouncing over one rock and another. He was going so slow, he was afraid that. He said, "I've never had this car over anything like this. I'll never take it over it again." He just use his car like that. If he'd have known what it was, he'd have never offered to take it. I'm sure. But those are some of the things I spent quite a bit of time with him on occasions like that. Let me just tell you one about Chuck. I'm not talking about him, but all of you knew him, probably of the older ones. He used to be the in charge of the sporting goods department at Sears store. We used to go in there and visit with him, and he came out a time or two. One day he was getting deer season time, just a day or two before, and he called me on the phone and he said, "You going deer hunting?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Fellows that I've been lined up to go with have something's happened, they've canceled out or something." And he said, "I wondered if I could come and go with you." I said, "Sure, there's a whole bunch of us, but one more or two won't make any difference where we're going. We can, sure and come." So he did, stayed with us that night, and we left the next day. And there was a whole bunch of people like President Dillman and 3 or 4 of them that had been bishops. They were all active church people. Chuck didn't do much of that. People he went with liked to drink a little and some of those kind of things. When the day was over and we were riding back home, he said, "Alva, I've hunted all my life." And he said, "I've never been out with a group of people like that." He said, "I didn't hear one smutty story, never saw a cigarette or a drink of booze." He said, "I didn't see a thing out of line." He said, "And yet they had a lot of fun." He said, "That was one of the finest days I've ever spent hunting."
Well, the things I remember about Dad are about, like most of you've already told, his perfection. And he was known, the standard joke at our house was that people always said that when they knocked on the door and came in, that Dad met them with a broom to sweep up their footsteps. And then when he got his new car, it was always a fact that he was supposed to have taken his handkerchief in case he ever had to do a bolt on the tire or anything. He always had to cover it first so it didn't get scratched.
He thought so much of it that he never taught his daughter how to drive. Well, after she was married.
I thought that was they still can.
One of the neighbors taught Mother how to drive, and she was going to really drive the car. And she really needed to, so that we could get places we needed to go when he wasn't there. And so one time, she got out, got in the car, and she was supposed to drive it around the block. And he ran all the way around the block, right? Yeah, I remember that one. So
that's the reason none of them ever learned to drive.
So Grace and I didn't learn to drive till after we were married. He was the oldest child of 11. He only went to the 5th grade in school, and he was extremely conscious about what education he lacked. And however, he could read real well, and he wrote quite well. Grammar was not always the best, but really not bad for somebody that only went to the 5th grade. But when it came time to pass an examination on the railroad, when he was to be promoted from a brakeman to a conductor, I'm sure that I knew the book and could have passed the test every bit as well as he, because I had read that and read it to him and asked him questions and read it back, gone over it I don't know how many times before he finally was promoted to a conductor. He was a little on the tough side, and with the children around the block, he always had them all scared to death, and still he always had a great big container full of cookies or all-day suckers or something for the little kids in the back hall. So anytime any little kid came, he always had something for them. He had some real insecurities. He was shy, had fears about doing lots of things. And one of them that I remember probably most is that in his latter years, one of his very best friends passed away and had asked that he be the speaker at the funeral, and he couldn't do it. And he wept tears about that because he really wanted to do that, but didn't dare go and speak at that funeral. And that's somewhat what he was like. He wanted to do things, but he did have some great feelings. I tell one other thing about Grace and I had a little discussion not long ago about how he went to work when he first moved out to that house. Grace said, well, he took the car. And I said, no, he didn't have a car for about 4 years after he moved out there. Well, then he took the bus, and I said, the bus didn't run at night. Well, and I don't know how he got there, she said. And I said, well, he rode a bike. And he rode that bike from Hartwell Avenue, about 21st South, clear out to the railroad yards, clear the other end of Salt Lake. It must have been, what, maybe 5 miles?
Up in North Salt Lake?
Out there for
Beck Street.
Up where the freeway goes
The only
across.
way he could have got there in the middle of the night was to ride that bike. So. Amen.
Here we go.
That's all right. You've never mowed a lawn in your life.
Who's gonna throw who in the pool tonight?
I don't know, but we don't have enough time to wait.
When Dad would mornings that he came in with the circus trains, he made sure that Gene and I were up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we'd go down and see him unload all the trains, all the animals off the trains. We got to see all that. When he says we're going to clean the basement, Gene and I were usually up an hour ahead of him, because if we weren't down there first, we never saw our stuff again. I mean, when he cleaned, he cleaned. But when Jack died...
He must have been related to Gordon.
When Jack died, he came down to my house. I said, would you please come down and help me clean the garage? So he came down there, and I said to him, what's this? Well, that's such and such. And I said, where'd it come from? Well, I guess it was mine. Well, he didn't want it in his garage, cluttering it up, but he wanted to know where it was in case he wanted to use it.
So I gave it to Jack.
The night of Annette's wedding, Jack came in and he said, I was in the gift room, and Jack says, I didn't get a boutonniere when you was talking about the big flowers. So I give him one big flower that we had left over, and he pinned it on him. And about 10 minutes later, here comes Daddy, and the tears just streaming down his face. And I said, good land, what's the matter with you? He said, I just went through the line again, and I've never seen Alva Snow laugh so hard in all my life. Here comes Jack through this line with this big boutonniere on. And Jack and Dad were both of them clowns. They were real close and real buddies. But my dad and I were, well.
Yeah, I do remember something. I don't remember if it was the night that before I got married. I think we stayed over at his house. Together? And Aunt and I. But we were in, she was in the house, and I had to stay out on the patio with all this noise. Clanging and everything. I remember...
With the chime?
Yeah.
It's clanging.
Yeah.
Anyway, if any of you remember how I was through the line there, after we got married, I was a nervous wreck, poop, and everything. Well, it wasn't just the chimes. Yes, it wasn't just the chimes. About every hour and a half, he'd come out of the house to make sure I was there. I'd be sound asleep there, and he'd push me on the shoulder there and says, are you still here? Yeah, I'm still here.
I might, though, if you keep this
That
up.
was all night long.
He had the gate locked,
By the time
barricade, and everything, so he wouldn't get away.
he was making sure Annette was all right. But this went on all night long. And then by the time the reception was over with, I was about ready to collapse. But another time, I can remember we went over the house several times to visit. And one time he said, would you like some ice cream? And I said, yes. So he goes into his freezer and pulls out some ice cream. He dishes, and they had a regular size ones. I had a bowl, I know it was this size. If you're going to be part of this family, you have to eat this big bowl of ice cream. I know I was sick for 2 days after.
Sure it wasn't a root beer float. They used to make them in the bowls.
Hey, that's all I remember.
Because the house was a little warm.
Right next to the garage.
Yeah, right to the side of the garage. And Grandpa hated cats. I think that's where I inherited that. And so Grandma May used to like to have fun with him. And when she knew that he was fairly sound asleep, he slept in the back of the trailer and she slept up front, right by the front door of the trailer. And she would very, very carefully sneak out of the trailer and go around the back side and start meowing. and on this particular occasion she told me about, she's out around the trailer meowing. Grandpa kept a supply of firecrackers in the trailer for cats. So he's around the trailer, she's meowing, and he's chasing her around the trailer with firecrackers. And he's throwing firecrackers and she's going around. Well, finally she lost it and started laughing so hard, made her way back in the trailer. And of course, when he found her back in there, just laughing to high heaven. I knew it was you all the time.
My dad didn't think too much of dogs either.
Clayton got that from him too.
He came around and got on his lawn. He'd throw one of these rocks.
I don't care. And then they beam from ear to ear.
Darren?
So I decided I just almost have to get my hair done. Now by the time Darren starts, Kyle, then I'll really have to. Kyle, I want his dear good town.
My late bloomer.
Wait around for him. He is a big bloomer, but he and Justin are still blooming.
Smile, Harry.
Good. Get the whole back, Janet.
I have some friends that were early bloomers.
Yeah.
Smile, Darren.
Well,
You were too close.
Hey, Vern.
Too close.
They're not really very good though. James good.
Fur.
I don't know what it was that he was doing. I didn't work out. He didn't even try. Well, they've been infected, and I've taken them in, and I hate to keep taking them in, but I just got him off an antibiotic, and it seems to kind of almost come back. So it might not have worked. I don't know.